I'm Irish. I own a digital marketing agency in Ireland, so in Dublin.
Well, wait, 3 years. So when did you start a business?
When I was 19 in college, yeah, so that's when I started. I had my first sales call over there. It was at like 2 a.m. because of the time difference. It went horribly. It was, there's going to be a 10K opportunity, then there's going to be a 100K opportunity, then there's going to be $1 million opportunity. The more you focus on what you're doing and improving on it. One of the girls that I work with just recently moved to Australia. She took an RV, she moved to Australia, and I was talking to her today and she's like, I'm having the best time over here. My personal goal in business is helping the people that are in my business reach their career goals. That's what I like to look at.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Dreamers Unplugged. Today, I have Cian with me. Thanks for coming.
No problem.
And Cian is a recent member of the Dreamers Club. We met a couple of months ago.
We met a couple of months ago, and then we kind of started to do a lot more recently.
Yeah, and bumped into each other in other events as well. So that's kind of nice. That's basically what happens here in Málaga. So Cian, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do for business, and what brought you here to Málaga?
Yeah, so I'm quite young. I'm only 22 years old. I'm Irish. I own a digital marketing agency in Ireland, so in Dublin. We specialize in Facebook ads, Instagram ads, basically Meta, for home improvement businesses. So kitchen renovators, bathroom renovators, carpentry works, anything like that. And yeah, we've been going for like 3 years now, and we have 8 employees.
Well, wait, 3 years. So when did you start a business?
When I was 19 in college. Yeah, so that's how I started.
So you started right out of college?
Yeah, so I was in college in Ireland, and then I moved to America. And when I was in America, basically I met this guy not this guy, but this professor who taught digital marketing. And he was actually the ambassador of Ireland to the college in America. So when I met him, we kind of had mutual interests in digital marketing, which I got from his class, and also Ireland. So I talked to him a lot, and he kind of recommended that I look into digital marketing in Ireland, because in America, it's extremely competitive. Literally every corner, there's like 10 different marketing agencies. Whereas in Ireland, there was less than 100, really. So he helped me start out the business, and that's kind of how I got started when I was over there. Yeah.
Crazy. So then you went back to Ireland, and I know that you started the agent. Well, I already know that, so I'm going to ask for you guys. And how did you get your first clients?
My first client, I guess my first client was, so I was in America. That's kind of where everything started. And I talked to this guy, and I learned how to set up a website. I had my first sales call over there, and it was at like 2 a.m. because of the time difference. It went horribly. Like it was the worst thing ever. I was a shaky mess, kind of like I am right now. And I didn't know what to talk about. Didn't really know too much about it, but it was just practice at the end of the day. He was like a dentist or something like that. So yeah, I started talking to him. Never turned into a sale, not even close. But when I came back to Ireland, I had my first in-person sale, and I met this guy, got along pretty well. He was actually in construction, and he's still a client today, actually.
Nice.
So 3 years later, he's still a client. So obviously I done something right there. And yeah, that was my first sale. But since then, we kind of just exploded very quickly, because we got a couple of things right, as in Ireland was quite a small market for digital marketing. A lot of the businesses are, like, compared to countries like America, Australia, Canada, everyone knows Facebook ads, Google ads, some sort of marketing is hugely important. Whereas in Ireland, we're like barbarians. Like, we literally don't know anything about online presence, especially the construction industry, which is like 50, 60-year-old guys who drink at the pub all day.
Very conservative, right?
Exactly. But it gave me a great opportunity to grow in a market and not have to compete against big players. We have a lot more money, have offices, have all this knowledge. So I got a lot of bigger companies than I should have been working with, and I learned a lot from them. And I also got to attract a lot more employees because of that market. I think the big thing I kind of learned from that was getting ideas from other countries. The big thing for me when I was younger and I was in school was I'd never thought I'd be an entrepreneur because I'm not creative. I was like, you need to be creative. Like, I thought of an entrepreneur as someone who like came up with the light bulb, or came up with a new sort of pencil, or something like that. Came up with like an inventor is kind of what I thought of an entrepreneur as. I got the idea from somebody else. It wasn't an original idea at all. When I started it up, I started doing Instagram ads. I started learning about it. And then I let the niche pick me. So I met Podrick, who was my first sale. He was doing construction. I got another construction sale. They were both hugely happy with what I was doing, and then just went down that route.
That is a very good point because a lot of people always ask, how do you find your niche? How do you find your business?
Mm-hmm.
And you have a fair point. It's sometimes it finds you. You just gotta have to take the first steps and then see what you're good at or what the market needs, right?
Yeah, and I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to be until, and I'm still young. I don't know if this is what I want to be. I hope it is. Like, it's something I'm very passionate about. But like, I remember when I was in school, like, I don't really, nothing career wise really happened for me until America, which is like 3 years into college. But I remember in school, I was maybe 14, 15, as in like my fourth year of high school. Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
We call it secondary school. But yeah, we done this quiz and you kind of filled out a form of stuff like, are you ambitious? Are you creative? Are you whatever? Do you work hard? Do you want to work long hours? Do you want freedom? All of this stuff about basically what you wanted with your career. And they came back to you like 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later with kind of a sheet saying, this is your recommended paths
Yeah.
that you go down. My number one path was to be a farmer.
Oh, really?
So, and you don't know me that well. I'm the furthest thing from a farmer. Like, I grew up in a pretty posh area. I'm not like, my family was fairly well off. I've never done anything even related to farming. So, and my second one was accountancy, which I would relate to being quite like uncreative,
Yeah.
kind of just do your numbers, which is something I was sort of interested in now. Absolutely no interest in at all. But that's kind of where my I guess essentials and kind of what happened to me was that's where I went to. But yeah, it just wasn't what I went into at all. I like what I do now. I definitely don't want to be a farmer. So
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how what we think in school or what school teaches us how our life is gonna be or what our options are. I mean, it's about the options. We don't know yet what the world is and what's happening there.
yeah.
But how did it? So when you then went to college and your professor said, "Okay, you should go that route," did it feel like a risk for you? Because you were still super young.
I was very lucky, to be fair. Like, when I left, so I was in college in America I was meant to be there for a whole year, and I only went for one semester because I started after, basically when I went to America, the only reason I went was to drink, to party, to enjoy my life, which is that kind of area of my life. All my decisions are based around that. Like, why wouldn't it be? And I got that. Like, when I went to America, the first, I probably was hungover for 2 months straight, to be honest with you. But it was kind of what I needed, both as in like what I wanted and what I needed. As in, I wanted to do that, and then 2 months later, I was like, maybe this isn't what I want to do with like the rest of my life. So I start researching and start looking into other stuff. Sorry, I'm deviating from your
No,
question.
no, that's fine.
Yeah, when I'd done that, I kind of went into looking into different people who done stuff like that. Now it wasn't the best crowd. It was Imangazzi and, God forbid you say his name, Andrew Tate and stuff like that. That was kind of my impressional area I was in. But eventually you start like researching the people like Alex Hormozy and Chris Williamson, who I like a lot of his stuff, and that kind of led me down the right path into it. But sorry, going back to your question, was it a risk? When I left college and went home, I didn't go back for the second semester of America. I said I wanted to stay and I wanted to stick with this. I didn't see a lot of success. I mean, like, my first client was like €300 a month, which was like a winning lottery ticket for me. I was like, he's paying me €300 a month to do this. And I was like, 100%, I'm just going to go all in with this and see if it's something I can do. So was it a risk compared to other people? As in, like, you're not going to go, oh, am I going to eat next week if this doesn't work? No, but I gave up a lot of other experiences and things to sit in a bedroom in Ireland and focus on this. So there's a little bit of risk, but really in the grand scheme of things, no, I was quite lucky in that. Yeah.
So for you also like feeling wise, it wasn't like you didn't feel like it was a huge risk. It just came naturally.
Well, when I went back home and I started this, I wasn't making enough money to live on. So I did pick up a job. So I picked up a sales job
Mm.
and I hated like every second of it, to be
Oh,
honest.
really?
Yeah, and I love sales, so I just really did not like it, and it was felt like a risk quitting that job to continue what I was doing. So I went on with that. I was in there for see, not that long, like maybe 3 months is all I could handle. And I was like gone from that. But then when I was off of that, it was like, I'm on my own now. I kind of have to keep going with this. But that was where the risk was for
Yeah.
me. But yeah, I was very lucky, and a lot of people don't get that. They don't get that look of being quite risk free in it. And entrepreneurship, you definitely need to. It's grinding every day and putting, not getting your to-do list done, and endless nights of working with like no way or reason of getting a payoff. Like you could definitely do all of that and do nights of work and getting nothing out of it.
That's the risk.
And that's kind of why we feel like we're so crazy when we talk about it,
Yeah.
and have passion about it. But yeah, there's always risk when it comes to entrepreneurship. But in like the grand scheme of things, I was very lucky to be in a position where I could do it and always fall back on something. Like I was never going to turn homeless or not eat the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you take that also from like your family background, or is that just you knowing that you could go back to any other job?
Yeah, like I feel like it's quite interesting thinking about like family background and friends and stuff like that. Like when I was in school, as I said, nothing to do with business really. I studied business in college, but I had absolutely no interest in it, like at all. I feel like your uncle was
Yeah.
entrepreneur. A lot of my friends I speak with, like their parents were entrepreneurs. I have like my mom is unemployed and my dad's a taxi driver, so like nothing related to me, no ties to me with entrepreneurship whatsoever. It's probably why it was not really an idea for me. But yeah, when I went into college, I didn't really have a huge amount of interest in business at all. It was what I studied and it was what I went to every day. But I feel like when you study that in college, you study that in school, you're not really getting the full
No.
picture of entrepreneurship at all. And I never understood that. Like when I went to America, I came back and I continued going to college for one more year. And I was like, I'm really going to pay attention to this. I'm going to go to every class. This is something I want to go ahead with. And nothing, we were talking about like Amazon, which is like the furthest thing away from my little marketing agency that I was hoping to pay myself maybe €5,000 a month. I would have been really happy with. We're talking about Amazon and franchises and hundreds of millions of dollars, and basically working corporate life is pretty much what we were talking about. So I was really disappointed with that. And I feel like a lot of people don't look at entrepreneurship as something, as an option, because of how college is framed. I'm not sure if that's just in Ireland.
Oh, no. I think that's international. I mean, I also studied business. And I studied business in Germany and in the UK.
Yeah.
And yeah, it prepares you for a corporate world.
Mm.
It doesn't prepare you for the big picture. Because I think one thing that is missing is mindset
Mm-hmm.
and just building structures. Because we learn about different areas of the business, like, I don't know, finance, marketing, like, depending on what subject you're choosing. But you don't really necessarily get the big picture and how to build the structure. Because that's what entrepreneurs do, right?
Yeah.
We strategize, like, where should we go? Like, how can we do that? So we're so, like, focused on smaller things that the bigger picture can sometimes missing, or at least that was my experience. So yeah, you're kind of like experts in each area, but you have no clue about like the bigger.
Look, I can confidently say I've used absolutely nothing from school or college life, like in this career path at all. But that's kind of fair, as in like that's where life takes you. Like it will take you into that safer route of going into corporate and getting a secure job, which we're too crazy to be doing stuff like that, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think what it helped me to see, I always saw each university level or school level as like the opener for the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Like you needed to finish high school in order to get into university. I needed university to get that job. I needed maybe that job, and now looking back, I needed to have that experience with the job to see this is not my thing. I need to go another route, which is then led me to my business. So I
Yeah.
kind of saw it more like a steps, and I kind of knew that I'm not going to use everything there, but also it made me realize that I needed to get out of Germany, for example. So that international aspect of it, because for the knowledge, I don't need my master's, for example. I don't do anything with it. It was fashion management. Not doing anything with fashion management anymore. I used it in my corporate jobs, but now not anymore.
Yeah, I feel like them like small experiences when you look back on them, although like in the time they seemed so like insignificant,
Yeah.
they actually do build up over time.
Mm.
Like I feel like I've seen people who had like 3 or 4 different mentors, and they'll be like this mentor is bad, this mentor is bad, this mentor is bad. This one was really, really good though. It's like them three told you small things and taught you up to that fourth one. It's like Slumdog Millionaire. Do you ever watch that movie? So he has like all of these life experiences which seem insignificant at the time, but when he goes on to he wants to be a millionaire, all the 12 questions were based on the experiences he had, even though they seemed insignificant at the time.
So true.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think everyone can relate to that. When you look back and you just trust your gut in certain moments and you have no idea why, you just have that idea, but it somehow adds up later. When I talk about this, I always refer a YouTube video. I think it's this, Steve Jobs had a speech of a college graduation. I don't remember which college. And I think the speech is called Connecting the Dots. And he basically goes back in his life of how he picked super random subjects. He never finished university or college, right? But he picked very different subjects and how that led to Apple's products.
Yeah, he studied typography, didn't
For
he?
example. So that led then to the different fonts of Apple.
Mm-hmm.
So
Crazy, yeah.
it seems so random.
Mm-hmm.
And in my life, it's definitely also ending up in Spain. Because I did study in secondary school. We call it also secondary school. At, I think, in the 9th grade, I had to choose either a third language or the physics path. And I don't know why, but I just wanted to learn Spanish. And the only option at the school I was Italian. So I already had English and French, and I wanted to study Spanish for some weird reason. I was very stuck on Spanish. So my mom was like, okay, then let's change schools. I mean, I'm not going to watch you being grumpy. You have to learn Italian. So yeah, I learned Spanish. Well, fast forward almost 2 decades later, we're here.
Mm-hmm. And I feel
It's
like
funny.
and even in entrepreneurship, I feel like where a lot of people don't use that is there's going to be a lot of like mountains you can climb. Like, you can look at it whatever different way. A dragon you can slay if you're looking at it in a video game, or a mountain you have to climb. And a lot of people look at it and say, I'm going to deviate and do something else and never climb it, as in it looks a little bit too hard, or whatever reasons they come up with their own head with it. And I feel like that's where me anyways, most of my learnings come from that. When something seems like that's too hard to do, Jesus, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. Whether it be hiring in 2 new people, whether it be like a certain lead source that you're doing isn't working anymore and you really dedicated to it, and that's where all your leads came from, having to sort out whatever problem it is, that's kind of what builds your character. And that's where you get the most learnings from. And I have a lot of people who do 3 different or 4 different or 5 different businesses and don't focus on the one, and then they just deviate and pivot and try get around these ways to basically have a shortcut to what they want, which is more than likely money at the end of the day. But going that long road is actually the shortcut if you look at it the right way. So there's no shortcuts. It is always the long road. And when you take that long road and jump over them walls and figure it out, you're going to be more equipped. I think, I don't know who said this quote, but it was like, the difference between a beginner and an expert is that the expert has more ways to overcome these walls and overcome these challenges that come up. And a lot of people try just deviate and go, oh, this is too hard. Maybe I should go down a different road. And this is going to be sunshine and rainbows when I look at it this way. But it never is. There's always going to be challenges to each different path you go down. So I find I'm trying my best anyways with what I'm doing to stick with it. And especially I'm in a lot of friends in my age group that do what I do. They try to do 10, 15, 20 different things. And even as someone I watch a lot, I think I've talked to you a lot about, was Hermosi. He said right at the beginning of his career, he was at the agencies, like similar to me, he had 11 different agencies. He started out like 11, like that's so many. But he's like, I found an easy way to get to 10K a month. So I just replicated it over 11 rather than figuring out how to get to 100K. And it's like, that sounds like such an easy path. And it's like, you were stressed out. He was working like 80 hours a week. I was like, he couldn't do anything with his life. And he was never building anything. He didn't have anything that was bulletproof. It's like that 10K a month thing, that's 3 clients and you're done. So it's I think definitely for younger people around my age, or even just starting out, one of the biggest things is sticking with it.
That's a really good point, because I feel like, especially like, let's say early 20s, you've also on social media, you're told there are so many ways and it's so easy to get to these 10K. And I still don't understand why everyone's talking about 10K. What are happening with our set K?
I think we talked before, 10K does not look like what you think it looks like.
No, in reality, 10K revenue is not It's gone quite quickly, to be honest. So yeah, always ask revenue or profit, or is that your take home? Those are two different stories. But so yeah, I feel like there's a lot of distraction out there as well. Like everyone, obviously on social media, everyone talks about their business model. And that's the best. I don't know, drop shipping agencies,
Mhm.
affiliate, I don't know, you name it, right? But I feel like a lot of, especially younger ones, are not focusing a lot on what they actually want to achieve with it. So the long-term vision of that business and where it leads me.
Mhm.
Do you ever feel distracted as well?
Yeah, of course I feel distracted. Like, how can you not? Like the bigger, it's the I think is it James Bond, the woman in the red dress. Did you ever look at that?
Oh.
Well, basically, I think I could be butchering the story now, but no, it wasn't James Bond. It was the Matrix. So when they're in the Matrix, he is in the simulation,
Mhm.
and he's trying to teach him something in the simulation. But there's a woman in a red dress there, and they go into the simulation. He's trying to teach him something, but he gets distracted by this woman in the red dress who's beautiful, and she's walking around. He goes, "You just missed out on what I've taught you." Basically, the story around that then is, yeah, people are getting distracted by these things, and the woman in the red dress is just one of them. As in, like, you're in this simulation. I'm trying to teach you something. You've got distracted. The bigger you get, and the more skills you're getting, and the more you're an expert, there's going to be a 10K opportunity. Then there's going to be a 100K opportunity. Then there's going to be $1 million opportunity. The more you focus on what you're doing and improving on it, you're going to be getting better and better and better. There's always going to be a more beautiful woman. There's not going to be a 10 out of 10. It's now going to be an 11 out of 10 or a 12 out of 10. And it's always going to be, oh, this is it's easy to hop over here. You just need to tell yourself it's not, because it never is. And when you don't stick with what you're doing, you're never really going to get to where you want to get. And having that goal in mind, which is something I've been really weak at, I've never had a goal that I want to stick to, and being like, look, this is what I'm going to get. I don't care what's left and right of it. I'm going to stick to this one. Um, the more you're going to be closer to it and realize these other distractions, you need to just forget about them
Mm.
completely.
So do you have that goal now?
Do I have that goal now? That's the $1 million question. I feel like goals are split up into two, personal and business.
Yeah.
And I always think about it as I like to be running towards something and running away from something.
Okay.
I feel like that's when you're at your most,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also easy to think a lot of outside pressures, like what we're talking about with like social media and stuff like that, tells you don't be happy with where you're at. Don't be comfortable with where you're sitting at. You always need to be striving for more, striving for more. And there's certain right stuff to that, as in you need to be running away from something, you need to be running towards something. But I feel like a lot of my personal goals get hit when I'm feeling like I'm happy. Like I am happy here. And why should I feel guilty about that? There's warm weather out. I'm meeting lovely people. We're living in Málaga. Our businesses are doing well. Why can't we be happy with that? But also striving for more is definitely something that you need to be going towards. And my goals, I find it difficult because when I speak with people, maybe it's just the people I'm surrounded with, I'm not revenue based goal wise
Okay.
at all. As in, if I'm making 2 grand a month or I'm making 20 grand a month, it doesn't really make too much of a difference to me. Whereas a lot of people in entrepreneurship, that's all they really care about. A big goal for me is the people I work with. So the people in my business, that's where I get a lot of enjoyment from. As in, one of the girls that I work with just recently moved to Australia. She took an RV, she moved to Australia, and I was talking to her today, and she's like, I'm having the best time over here. And now, I don't want to sit here and go, that's all because of me. I got her that job, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that. But I've supported her get there.
Mm.
And that gives me a lot more joy than an extra couple of euro in my bank account, a couple thousand euro in my bank account. That's just not where I get a lot of joy from. So my personal goal in business is helping the people that are in my business reach their career goals.
Nice.
That's what I like to look at. Personally, I feel like this is a really stupid goal, and I've been told this a lot. And
No
feel
stupid
free
goals.
to tell me if it's stupid. And because happiness isn't something that's like just linear and you just have it and you're happy. But whenever I feel happy and I feel secure in my position and it allows me to be the best I can in my business, and being the owner of my business and being a manager, not being distracted, a big thing that I like to have is being emotionally stable. So I'm not up. The sales are up this month. I'm really high and I'm really happy. Oh, the sales are down this month and the clients are unhappy and I'm down here. I like to just be stable, one line. That's where I'm at. If anyone needs advice and they're up here, they're down there, I'm not matching them. I'm bringing them to my middle. being like, what do we think about this? So as long as my personal life doesn't affect my business life and I feel happy with where I'm at,
Mm.
then I'm pretty happy, which isn't a very specific goal compared to my business one, which is I want to make my sales guys get to where they want to get. I want my account managers to be happy and get to where they want to get in their career. But I'm happy with it at the moment. Maybe I need to do a little bit more. What do you think on personal goals?
No, I mean, I think we definitely need personal goals as well. And we talked about this earlier as well. Because when you have your business, a lot of times you only focus on business goals, like either revenue or, like you said, with more like human-based goals within the business, right?
Mhm.
So we can sometimes forget to have projects or goals outside of our business. And I'm definitely guilty of that. And I'm trying to change that. But because that is actually something that I think where my happiness comes from as well, like having projects
Mhm.
within my private life that doesn't necessarily have to make me money or have to support my lifestyle. That could be anything from, I don't know, trying to run 25, 22K, what's a half marathon? Something like that. Or like, training towards something, or like travel with your friends or whatever it is. Like, I definitely do think we need private goals as well. I like what you're saying, and I thought about the same. I thought always like it would be so cool to have like being stable emotionally, like always having the same emotions. As within the female body is not so easy with our hormones changing. And I heard a podcast, and I don't remember who it was, but it pretty much was saying that the guy was talking about the same thing, that he wanted that stable feelings. And his therapist was telling him, okay, but if you look at the heart rate at the monitor, that
Mm.
how do you call this?
Heartbeat monitor.
Yeah, the heartbeat monitor. So if you're, what does a flat line mean?
You've no heartbeat.
Yeah, you're pretty much not breathing.
Sure.
You're dead. So we do need the ups and downs, but I agree with not being detached to the business in that sense, so that my business tells me how I'm feeling. So being detached from the performance and being happy, even, or at least okay, when business is not going that well.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It's pretty well said.
Yeah. So just being a little bit more detached, because I'm definitely not there. But also at the same time, it gives me the highs as well. So it's not only about feeling not well when things are going wrong, but also like it definitely gives me a good feeling if things are going well. So I don't want to take that away either, but like just detach from the negative a little bit.
But it's weird as well, because I feel like in the last podcast, maybe it was the one before that, you were talking about you started a business for personal reasons, as in being able to move abroad, being able to set your own working hours or whatever it may be, just a bit more freedom. But then as you start the business, when you say it like that, it's like you're just starting this as a side thing to enable you to live your personal life.
Yeah.
But now
Somehow it takes over.
business has taken over the
Yeah.
personal, and then we're sitting here and we're like, business goals, we can list them out like that.
Yeah.
And then it's personal, and then you're like, oh, wait, let me
Yeah.
think about that for a bit. Like, how does that happen? Like, how do we switch from that?
Oh, that is a good point. Gonna have to think about that one.
Where does that point switch? I think it is because we started this with obviously a goal of being free, being
Yeah.
able to move abroad, being able to work from home, work from wherever you want to. And I think it sounds like that when you started off. And like what I talked about employees, you start bringing people into your life now that the business affects. For me anyways, like it's my goals are based around my employees.
Yeah.
So when they're in, I actually care a lot more about them and I care about their goals. But it is weird how that takes over personally, how you feel.
It's very interesting because I feel there are two sides of it. So obviously when you start a business and you start it for the right reasons of like, being more free and whatsoever, then you start getting into the building process and then it takes over. So I feel like there's no way, I think it was with Ellie in the podcast episode, we talked about this as well. It's very hard to get a balance there because you're just building it out. Because let's be real, and you said it as well, the first client brings in 300 euros. Well, you're not free with that.
Yeah.
It's impossible. You cannot live off of that. So you need that period where it needs to take over in order for you to build it. But I think where we go wrong, or maybe not maybe, where I did go wrong as well, is where does it stop the building process?
Mm.
And did I actually build it so that I can be free? Right? Because and then you get into this hustle again because you see all the opportunities, right? You see, okay, if I work a little more, I get a little more, or I make this employee more happy, and then you're in that race with yourself. I think we need to step out and like zoom out more often and just ask ourselves, are we actually going to be able to live the life we wanted with that business model?
Mhm.
I think that's definitely, and I had this in, I think 2 years in, but I already had a different business model at the site with the online shop I'm working with. So I always saw the differences between both, and that's why I'm doing both. I don't only have the agency, but I have the online shop as well, because I wanted to have that freedom, and I knew with the agency I'm never going to fully have it to the extent that I want.
Mhm.
Also later on when you're thinking kids and like, that's a whole lot of episode of life. Yeah, for you this is like so far off. Well, not that far off, time wise at least. So yeah, definitely I see the difference, and I think it's good to see what business model actually makes me free,
Mhm.
or how do I build the structure to take myself out.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs are like, "Oh, I'm going into this to get out of the rat race," or whatever they call it.
Build it yourself.
But yeah, it's like you're sitting there and you're in this every single
Yep.
day, and you don't ever take a step back to look at, am I happy in where I'm at? Have I set my goals? Am I working towards my goals? And yeah, it's like you're really putting yourself back where you don't want to be. So I think it's hugely important to take a step back and look at it, which is something I think we can all say we've been weak at certain stages, because you get into that grind of, oh, this isn't enough and I need more, I need more, I need more. And it's like strategizing and actually taking that time to look and say, am I nearly where I wanted to be at? Because I think everyone stopped and been like, hold on, I've just hit a goal that I set beforehand and now I'm just setting a new goal in my mind. And it's like, what did that first goal actually represent?
Yeah.
Did it represent anything? Okay, obviously I've gone wrong here in setting this goal, and it doesn't look like what you're saying, 10K a month. 10K a month didn't look like what I thought 10K a month was I'm moving to Marbella and I'm getting on that yacht. It's like, I am done, I'm out of here. And I hit
You're
10K
never
a
gonna
month,
have to work again.
and I hit 10K a month, and I'm like, Jesus, that's like not that much money, trust me. So yeah, it's like sitting down and going, okay, I'm obviously wrong there. That's not what it looks like. So when you set the next goal, whether that be 50K a month, be open to being, when I hit 50K a month, that may not look like that either. And being open to being like, I think we should all just be open to being wrong and learning from stuff. People just do not want to be wrong, and they always say the saying of, was a win or learn,
Yeah.
but they never actually take the learning from it, and they're really really scared to lose. And obviously everyone's scared to lose. They don't want to look like a failure or have a business breakdown or anything like that, which is fine. But when you do, be open to it, look at the learnings from it. And when you hit a goal, even though it's a success, there's still stuff to learn from it, even if that goal isn't like where you want to be at.
And then also what's the other side of it is because with that 10K, we don't necessarily want the 10K. We want the feeling that we think comes with the 10K, right? So I think at one point we also have to ask ourselves, why do we want to feel that way? And what is it what we actually want? Because it's not the 10K.
Mhm.
It's that what we think comes with it. And that's usually freedom, right? Or like feeling lighter and like, I don't know, being able to do what we want, to buy what we want, or whatever, people associate with the 10K.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm always asking, where does this 10K come from? Because it means something for everyone. Like everyone has a different approach to it and a different connection to it. So I think that's where we have to ask ourselves, why do we do that? Like the core.
Mhm.
Why do we do what we do?
Yeah, I think it's like I call it unconscious thinking. Like
Yeah.
you came up with that goal while you're walking to get a coffee or going to do something else. You're like, 10K, that sounds like a nice number. I'll go with that one. And it's like, although it sounds cringy to sit down and write your goals and what that means for you, I feel like you'll never, like me telling you to do that, or Sophie telling you to do that, or a friend or family telling you to sit down and write your goals, you're never going to do it unless you sit down and do it yourself and actually get something from it. And once you go, okay, that's actually not what I want. Like 10K, if I actually write that down and I do whatever, if it be a cash flow forecast and go, actually my expenses are 9 grand. So that actually doesn't sound that great. You can actually set proper goals for yourself. And then when you hit a goal, it may not feel exactly like what you want it to feel like, but
It's
it's
closer.
closer. Yeah. So you're getting there.
Yeah.
And then your goals are actually steps in your career and not just thoughts you had when you're going to get a coffee and when you're busy and you're shopping and you're being like, oh, that sounds good, I'll just go there.
Yeah.
It's actual steps. And especially when you grow a business to the size of ours, not trying to brag or anything, but like it's a little bit bigger than just like a one person show. You have responsibilities with the goals you set. It's not just for you, and it's like you can't be stupid about it and be like, I'm just gonna set this goal and when I hit it, look, whatever happens, happens. you have a responsibility. There's a lot of people looking up to you and being like,
Oh yeah.
once you hit that goal, what does that mean for us? Are we going to be able to, like what I said about letting people grow, are they going to be able to get that promotion? What do they want? Like, what do they actually want? Do they want that promotion? What is the promotion? Do they want to start managing people? Do they want to take on more clients? Do they want to take on higher paying clients? What is that? And you need to look at that responsibility, especially when I'm so young and I've had no responsibilities. I don't have kids. I don't have any dependents or anything like that. These are my little dependents that I have. It's like when I hit these goals, it needs to mean something not just for me, but for this family I'm trying to create. And that's something I think I'm really good at, if I'm allowed to just like
Of
be
course.
proud of myself for
Yeah,
once,
please. That's what we're here for.
is building that community. And I sit down a lot with everyone that I work with. And obviously, I think you could probably tell from how I'm talking, it's really important, the team that I have. And I sit down with them a lot, like maybe once every 2 weeks, once every month, and just ask them just generally like, how are you doing? Like,
I love that.
are you enjoying working here? And like being honest is that I'm not giving a leading question like, is this the best place to work ever? But like, is there anything you dislike about working here? Is there anything we can improve on? Because we're not perfect. We're never going to be
No one.
perfect. But do you feel like you're the person running let's just say, for example, you're the person running the ad account every day, running the ads, making the ads. You're going to have a way better insight into that part of the business than me who's sitting above going, run that ad there for me. So definitely speaking to people and having a family culture is definitely something I like to have. Probably sound like Michael Scott from The Office now, being like, oh, we're a big family. But definitely, yeah, hitting them goals, having a thought of it's not just me, it is a company now. I feel like that creates a better performance for everyone and gets everyone to feel a bit more involved.
I love that. I think that's very important when we're talking about building structures. Now I'm curious because you were talking about responsibilities at a very young age. How was that in the beginning?
Oh, that's a tough one. You hear me with the hardball questions there. Um,
Sorry.
I guess it was kind of, it definitely took me longer than, I definitely had responsibilities before I ever realized that I had responsibilities, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I was trying to frame, and it was a weak thing, like mentally, as in like I was trying to bring people in part-time when they should have been full-time.
Mm.
So I had an excuse in my own mind, again, unconscious thinking. I had an excuse in my own mind to go, oh, well, if it doesn't work, they're only working part-time. And I was taking on more part-time people. As in, like, I have two sales guys that were part-time that were only doing one job. And that was me being young, and I'm going to have weaknesses being young and starting this out. And I kind of done that myself. And I mean, recently, only in the last year, I've started to go, well, maybe I should just embrace this.
Mm.
As in, it's again, character building, building my person, having them people and allowing them to grow and actually fostering into that and training them and giving that responsibility, like giving something for me to run away from. Yeah, so when I have that responsibility, then it actually feels like my performance is going up because I felt like it was something I was scared of.
Mm.
And until you actually admit that to yourself, your performance is never going to be good enough for it. So when you have something like, okay, these people are actually depending on me like that, they want to hit career goals, helping them hit that career goal is going to help your performance a lot more than being
Oh.
like, oh, I'm just gonna hide and be like, oh, look, it's not my problem. They have another job, they have another part-time job. So if this fails, it's fine. Having that responsibility and feeding into it is definitely a hard thing to accept.
Mm.
But once you do accept it, then I feel like your performance goes up and you actually feel a lot prouder in what you're building. And what you build becomes a lot more meaningful. And when people are part time, they're half in and half out. You want people to be all the way in. And the people who work for me are all the way in. Like they are as in for this business as I am. And that happens when you give them that belief and go, look, we're going to give you this money. We're going to make you full time. Go and do your thing. Make your department you and get them more involved in it. Yeah, so I feel like definitely feeding into that responsibility is the best way of doing it.
It seems like it was a hard step.
Oh, hugely hard.
I
Yeah,
can imagine.
because it's again coming back to being like, yeah, I'm just gonna accept that it is hard and understanding that I'm cowering away from it, which is what I was doing. And accepting that is definitely something that's been hard. But the more you do that, it's probably another thing that I was saying, like a mountain that you have to climb. Once you've climbed it, it's not like you're continuously climbing this mountain again and again and again.
No.
Once you've reached the top of it, you've reached the top of it. That adds a trait to your person, and you just continue with it there. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that goes into this belief that I have, or try to live by. Doesn't work always, but whenever there's a decision to make and you know you have two paths and one is scary and the other one is not, I always try to force myself to go with the scary one because I know this one is where my whole system is like trying to hold me back. And usually that's where, because it unlocks growth. Usually that's the one that then again, once you unlock that, it's not actually as hard as it seemed, because we also make up these stories in our head how hard it's going to be. Once you climb that mountain, then you have the skill set to do it.
I think Joe Rogan said, I know people don't like Joe Rogan, but like Joe Rogan said this, if you're facing a tough decision, look at it as that you're in a movie and that you're the main character. What would that guy do? And then go and do it. I
Okay.
feel like that's a great way to look at it and
Yeah.
be like, look, even if it's a better story, sometimes I just do stuff because I feel like, that's going to be a better story. Look what you're saying, there's a hard route and an easy route. Go down the hard route and try it. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? You go back and take the second route, or you go and you learn a lot more and you're a better person then. So definitely. In Rocky, the cutscene lasts 9 minutes. In real life, it could last 3-4 years with no guarantee of it ever paying off and winning that boxing match.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a good point as well, especially it's coming back to social media. We only see the highlight reels and we see the overnight success, but we don't see the 5 years, X years, whatever, before where people struggled. So yeah, taking time into the equation as well. I mean, you started super early, so you have like lots of time ahead. We all do, to be honest. We all do. But yeah, that adds to the mix. Like people always say it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And it seems kind of like dull to say that, but it is true in the end.
And social media, I think, affects everyone.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about it before, and like people probably look up to people and be like, oh, I bet social media doesn't affect them. But it definitely does. Like, it affects everybody. Like, even me, it's like, I don't care about all that, like, bigger stuff, like the Andrew Tate and stuff like that. Like, oh, look at my Bugatti and look at my Ferrari and stuff like that. That's easier to overlook now. But even when it's more, I feel like it hits me more when it's personal. It's like it's an Irish person who's also a business owner and also my age. Then you're like, oh, well, I should be there. He's in Marbella. Why am I not over there? And why am I not in that bigger house? The comparison is the thief of joy, is what I always like to say. And it's really hard with social media now not to compare yourself to somebody else. But I don't know, like, we kind of talked about it. It's just kind of hard to not compare yourself.
Yeah, I think the first step is to realize that we're comparing ourselves right now and it has nothing to do with our own lives.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just hard to not. I think, and then the next step is to not let it affect how we see ourselves. Because there will always be someone further ahead in one area. And there's always going to be someone that is not as far as you.
We never look at them first.
Yeah, we never look back.
Yeah.
And we're not even only on other people's, but on ourselves. How did I handle certain situations last year? How do I handle them today? If I handle them better and let them less affect me, hey, growth. Great. Thumbs up.
Yeah, like, look at yourself a year ago.
Yeah.
If you look at yourself a year ago as your person now, that guy's an idiot. Right? If I look at a sales call of me a year ago or a video of me talking on camera, I'm like, what the hell is this doing? What is he talking about? He doesn't have a clue what he's doing. And I'm sure a year from now,
it looks different.
I'm sure I'll look at this podcast and go, why is that guy talking like that? Who does he think he is? What is he talking about? He doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. And it's like, I think Matthew McConaughey always said, like, my hero is me 10 years from now.
Yeah.
And when I hit that person, I will never be my hero. My hero will be me 10 years from then. So it's like, always, I think that's a great way of looking at someone who to look up to. Because if you look at yourself before, as in 2 years ago before, even 4 years ago before I started this, looking at me now and going, geez, you moved to Málaga, you started a new business, you have employees. Like, well, I'm sitting here drinking a beer in America, dressed up on St. Patrick's Day as a leprechaun. And look, how the hell did he get there? That guy is my hero. And like, realizing that, and that's why you should definitely be happy in yourself. And like what I said earlier, just like being a little bit happy in yourself and giving yourself a little bit of praise.
No matter where we are. And I think that's a really good...
No matter where you are.
Yeah, no matter where we are, right? Because we just have today. And now, actually, not only today, we just have now. I think that's a really good way to end this podcast.
Perfect.
Or do you have any other advice for someone that is starting out?
Starting out young or just starting out in general?
Young and in general.
Young and in general.
If you have two, then go ahead with both. If you have one, go ahead with one.
Ooh. Yeah, it's super hard, and I feel like people put a lot of pressure on themselves. I feel like I'll just go down this road with the the 9 to 5, if you have a job at the minute, people put a lot of pressure on themselves to quit that job and start doing something new, as in starting a new business and quitting their 9 to 5. I feel like that's pressure that's so unneeded, and I feel people don't need to put that pressure on themselves. You could definitely do both. I've done both. It is a lot of work, as in your 5 to 9 is going to be super, super hard. And I even woke up at 7 sometimes to work before work. It will prepare you for when you quit. Because when you start that out, and when let's say you're 6 months in and you're starting to make more money than you make in your current job, you're going to need to do that 5 to 9, plus you're going to need to do the 9 to 5. So if you're thinking you're going to quit and then try do whatever 4 or 5 hours a day and play on your PlayStation for the rest of it, it's not how life's going to go. So doing both of them together, I think, is definitely something that shouldn't be overlooked. I think it's probably the one thing I'd suggest.
I love that because it's not all in from day one.
Mm-hmm.
You will have the transition
And you
phase.
need to make that foundation at the start, like building the website or setting up the social media. And I feel like
That
definitely when you have a bit of proof, like you have your first client, you have your
yeah,
first 2 clients, you have a couple of viewers looking at
yeah.
your videos, it's definitely hard, or it's definitely easier, sorry, to push through it and quit that job then.
I love that. And I think what comes with it is you build trust in yourself, not only in the business, because probably the business model, like you said earlier, maybe you didn't invent it, so you know the business model works. But the question is, are you good enough to make that work? So if building that trust, you need to do it next to your job.
So important to trust in yourself.
I
And
love
I'd done it the other day. I was looking at like different routes we're going to take down with the business, and I actually sat there and I wrote down on my notepad, whatever route I take, it's going to work. Like I know it's going to work. I'm just picking which one is going to be a little bit better. But when you look at it generally, you're like, which one's going to work and which one's not going to work. So it's definitely big to have belief in yourself, and I felt like I've definitely got there.
love it.
So hugely important to have that. Yeah,
And then it's going to work out.
every route's going to work out then. Yeah,
I love that. Perfect. Thank you so much for being on the show.
thank you.
Thanks for watching, for listening, and yeah, see you in the next episode. Bye.